Whenever they aren't able to communicate something, it manifests as a behavior. Yeah. Like unmet needs, frustrations, they all turn out to be a behavioral manifestation of the fact that they just simply can't tell you what's going on. So it's like, I think the main thing when you're looking at a child, always look at the fact that what is the need of the child and what is he not able to communicate, and then provide an alternate voice. So do not always push for conventional, speech or verbalizations. Always use like different tools to enhance that communication, because language and speech are physical things, okay? But communication can be anything. It could be gestures, it could be visuals, it could be, body language. Just empower them in any channel that they can express themselves, and you will see how things change.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Community Conversations. Today in the studio we have Zainab, a speech and language pathologist and the founder of SLP in the City, which is on Instagram. So please check them out. Today's conversation is going to be amazing because it's all about communication. Welcome, Zainab.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Yay. Okay, so when I first start off the conversation, I usually say, what made you say yes to actually joining the conversation today?
I think the whole purpose behind it, that we're going to be able to reach a larger audience and drive inclusion and somewhere make a change. So that's why I'm here.
Yes, and I think that's what you do every day online. So I really do want people to make sure that they follow you. So let's just start from the beginning. Speech and language. How did you start this journey?
It's surprising. I chose this not because of my first choice. I kind of knew what I don't want to do.
Okay.
So, and when those things were off the list, I started looking for more options. But I always knew I had this flair for communication, like communicating with people, conversing, and I always wanted to like make a difference somehow. And that's when I stumbled upon speech language pathology. Okay. The funny thing is, within my first 6 months, I wanted to give up. I was like, this is not for me.
Studying or actually
like in the first time my undergrad, the first year, and I'm like, this isn't for me because it requires so much patience. You're pouring into humans, and as an 18-year-old, you'll be like, oh my God, this takes a lot.
Yeah.
All right. But then it took me one client, my very first child who I worked with, and when I saw the change that I could make in a few sessions, his first word being mama, having the mom in the room.
Yeah.
Okay, that was the miracle moment for me. Like, the moment of divine intervention.
I can do this.
Like, this is it. This is your purpose. And I think from there, it became a journey of just loving, giving, and, feeling blessed to that SLP chose me.
Yeah.
So,
And I mean, as you said, it's really not for everybody. And the patience is key.
Exactly.
So how long have you been in the field?
I started off in 2015.
Okay.
So this is over a decade now that I'm here.
Yeah.
Both as a student, as an intern, doing my master's, and now working. So it's been a long, beautiful journey.
Yeah. I mean, I know that you wear many, many hats. So we have therapist, advocate, and educator. What part of the work gives you the most joy?
I think right now, advocating gives me the most joy because I can celebrate their milestones within my therapy room, but to see them thrive in the community, oh my God, that would give me the real joy that we have spaces that they can be themselves and they're being celebrated for who they are. So that's what gives me most happiness.
Walk me through advocacy. Like, what does that mean to you?
It just means that we're not just like making people aware that there are people with differences, but this accepting that differences are okay. It's a part of our diversity. Our, even a human fingerprint isn't the same. So how can the minds be alike? So advocacy is not just accepting, but also creating opportunities for them that they can thrive and, strengthen their own abilities.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. And I think that advocacy is key. And I think that is what you do on SLP in the city. I mean, obviously you're educating parents and teaching them, but in the midst of that, you're also advocating. And I think that sometimes just modeling it is way more beneficial than saying, hey, this is what we need to do. Like you're actually showing us how to do it. Which kind of brings me to next conversation in regards to communication and inclusion. What's like a therapy session look like for you?
I think there's a lot of mind prep work that goes in before the child even walks into your session. Okay. So you're like, okay, I have this kid right now. You don't want to be just present, but you want to be mindful of the child's strengths, not always pinpointing at their weaknesses. And you just want to create a session that the child feels comfortable and happy about. So, if the child is crying in my sessions, I would be afraid that, am I giving him a negative impact for life? We don't want them to attach negative emotions, because emotional well-being is super important. So I think the main thing I do is focus on the emotional well-being of the child. A happy child is what I need at the end of it. Walks out of the session happy, walks in happy, and the whole therapy is very neurodiversity affirming. It's like child-led. There are no clear cut, things that I want them to do. I just keep it open, and I take the lead of the child, and I keep supporting the communication as it goes. That's about it.
For those who don't know what speech therapy is, how would you describe it?
Okay, so coming from India, this field itself was very new to people. Even my own environment, my society and my friends, they were like, I'm the first one in my whole family to choose this. So there was nobody, and they were like, what are you doing? So this conversation I've been having since 2015 to tell them what exactly speech therapy is. So they would say, oh, you're just teaching kids who can't speak, or using the terms which are very derogatory, like deaf and dumb and stuff like that. Back then it was like they didn't even know how to talk in the right language about these people. Okay, so I started telling them, I'm just helping people communicate and find their voice in ways that they couldn't conventionally do so. And it doesn't mean that they're, they're less or they're, anything different, but they just need the right kind of support. And I'm just supporting them achieve that.
I think that, when we think about autism, just because I work hand in hand with speech therapists and OT, and yes, behavior is important to be able to educate, but communication is a part of the behavior.
Exactly.
So how important would you say communication is?
If you believe me, Nikki, I think every behavior is driven by something which is unmet, and that's communication, right? Whenever they aren't able to communicate something, it manifests as a behavior. Like unmet needs, frustrations, they all turn out to be a behavioral manifestation of the fact that they just simply can't tell you what's going on. So it's like, I think the main thing when you're looking at a child, always look in the fact that what is the need of the child and what is he not able to communicate, and then provide an alternate voice. So do not always push for conventional, speech or verbalizations. Always use different tools to enhance that communication, because language and speech are physical things, okay? But communication can be anything. It could be gestures, it could be visuals, it could be, body language. Just empower them in any channel that they can express themselves, and you will see how things change.
I really, really love that you brought up the term tools, because that's basically where I would like to go next, is what type of tools that, do you use in your sessions? And I know I will ask about AAC, but I do want to know beyond AAC devices, because I think that we do need to express and explain to, the audience what that means. What are other tools that you use?
So basically, I think the first thing would be to use gestures. Okay, when I say AAC does include gestures as well, but let's simplify that. You have picture supports, you have gestures, you can model all of that, and there's also there's not always things like flashcards. You can also do very realistic life experiences. Therapy doesn't always have to happen in the session. Absolutely. I could have a therapy at the cafe, at the supermarket. As long as it feels natural, there is it leads to something more meaningful for the child, and they're learning real life skills. That should be your biggest tool of how to implement this back in the society or the community.
Basically how to generalize what you're working on. And I agree. For me, I would rather not be in a office with my kiddos. I love to be out in the environment because the environment is natural. I think that sometimes when we bring kiddos into our space, and this is not knocking a office space with children, but I think that sometimes we contrive that situation. So it's very, very controlled versus what's reality in the community. Exactly. Can we control everyone else around us? No, but we can control how we communicate and the skills that we have taught. Are they also being generalized here? Yeah. Of course, your kid will say hi to you, but will he say hi to everyone else? Yeah. What is an AAC device?
Okay, so an AAC stands for Alternative and Augmentative Communication. So these are tools that are not for replacing speech, but they are meant to augment or support whenever there is a lack of language or speech, okay? They could be device-based, like, your iPad, your communication apps, or they could be something as simple as American Sign Language, okay? So they could range from low-tech to no-tech at all, or to high-tech. It's an umbrella term that encompasses anything that supports communication. All right, so this is for children or adults who can't effectively communicate or express themselves through the typical channel or conventional channel of speech. And still we give them a voice that could be, that could help them advocate for their needs, express their thoughts. So usually a high-tech device is when I see minimally speaking children or children who I know will have that communication gap. And it's just to bridge that gap. It's nowhere to replace their thoughts or their voice. And that's the biggest misconception in society. People think, if I give the device, my child will never speak. And that's not true. This will actually drive them more to communicate, because it will reinforce and motivate them that through communication, I can achieve so many things. So,
when I first started in this field, I was actually very scared of that device because I don't think I understood the science behind it when I first started working in this field, and we're talking like 18 years ago. And now it's my best friend. I will ask a parent, do you use an AAC device? Like, what form of communication? I know that our role as ABA therapists is to essentially just focus on behavior, but the communication is such a big part. So I am always grateful for speech therapists and when we are able to collaborate and work together. So really, really love the work that you are doing, and thank you for explaining the AAC device. So it's a good thing to use the AAC device.
It is a very good option.
Yeah, I've definitely heard that as well, where parents feel like, well, this is going to take away from them communicating or using their words. But if the goal is to communicate, then we're achieving it. Yeah. Now, your motto is inclusion starts with you. So what does that mean in action for families, teachers, and community?
Okay, so I believe that the child is there, whatever they're labeled as, but they have their own strengths and weaknesses. But what really will matter is the stakeholders, and that's us. It's the community that they're in, their families, their immediate, communication partners, their therapists. And the concept of inclusion should start with us, because we're the ones who will drive that conversation in the community. Okay, so it begins at home, in kindergartens, where teachers can talk about how kids can be kind to their other friends. So it's not the child's ownness only to be able to thrive in the society. It's all of us who can have that mindset that, let's be more accepting that people can be different, and how we can be more aware of these differences around us and normalize it, because it's okay to be different.
Absolutely.
So I think it's too early. It's too late to start like later on when they're already being bullied and stuff like that. But if you start early on, like right from school age, you would be, you can see the kids, and they learn so well. The children nowadays, they will learn to, how to take care of the other child, how to, have that empathetic mindset, and not just sympathize and pity. That's what, they don't need that. They just need to be felt included and seen for whatever they are.
So I agree. I think that starting early is very key, and starting at home also. And, your children are watching you and how you treat others. So I think it's very important to see everyone for who they are. So SOP in the city, that's essentially what you do online as well. And you have loads of followers. How and why did you start the Instagram handle?
To be honest, it started off with just documenting my journey as what SLPs do. So I never knew what it would turn out to be. I just knew that I want to like start documenting this because it's not very common to see SLPs. Now you see a lot of SLPs doing it, but back then, 10 years ago, no, nobody was, even there, out there, and other people were
especially in the region.
Exactly, and they were so proud of their fields. I would see doctors, I would see other therapists, but not SLPs who were just being okay with this, talking about what they do.
Yeah.
And I felt like if I'm going every time I go to a party or something, people are asking me, what do you do? Like, what is this whole thing about? So I realized that there is a gap in awareness. Nobody actually understands. So, and when social media is such a powerful tool, why not use it? And that's when it all started. I had no idea where it would lead to, but today I think it's going somewhere good.
For sure.
And I'm very happy that I'm on this journey and I'm learning every single time.
I think you definitely should keep going. What would you say has been the most impactful from the social media?
I think it would be how I got people to talk about inclusion, because this was me 3, 4, 5 years ago. I took a plug card and I was on my street in India holding the sign like kindness and inclusion goes a long way. So I'm walking the streets and I'm telling people like this is like December, the Disability Awareness Month. So it would be like my day to go around and talk to people like, this is what I want to talk about. And it just to have that conversation going is something I really enjoyed, and I felt like having people acknowledge being here at community conversations. I think I'm making an impact already.
Absolutely, I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, so I love that you went back home and you were like, hey, it starts with home first of all.
True.
So from my understanding, you've led many different campaigns in regard to like sign language. Back at home. Why was it so important to focus on sign language?
Okay, so because there was a big misconception, again, because when I was working back in India, okay, here I have like a specialty. I work with children on the autism spectrum, but back home I had a wider caseload. I would work with cleft lip and palate, children with cleft who are cleft warriors. I would work with children with hearing difficulties, and that's when it came about that they're also a voice that is unheard, and the whole community like looks at them differently because they communicate differently. But sign language is also a very powerful communication tool, and the whole community survives on it. All right. So it's not that they are different. It's us who doesn't understand what they're trying to say.
Exactly.
So I went to a cafe which was run by a group of individuals who were using sign language. And when I stepped in that world, you have to order with the menu using sign language.
Oh, wow.
So
this is in India.
This is in India.
Wow.
So this is when I realized, okay, so, you can do it.
Absolutely.
We can step into their world. We can communicate. And we can use their signs. And it's like, it's normal to have different ways of, it's like another language, to be honest. How we pick up Mandarin, we pick up German and stuff like that, and be proud about it. We can also pick up sign language as a,
I love
language.
That. What part of India is this?
This was in Bangalore. It's called Echoes. And they have, they have other things in Delhi as well. They have many cafes. Cool. But it's beautiful when you step in that place and you see how you can learn signs and Indian alphabets. You will enjoy that whole vibe.
I would totally love that.
So,
Wow, that's pretty cool. Okay, so we go from your being a therapist to then pushing it online to just outreach in general.
Yes.
How do you stay creative and avoid burnout? Because it's a lot of work, as you said, from the beginning, from the patients to dealing with the parents. How do you stay creative?
I think for me, multitasking drives my creativity. And if I had just one thing to do, I would be bored out of it. So I like to wear multiple hats. I like to have too many things on my plate, though I sometimes complain about it. But I love having
it's better that
multiple
way.
things
I hear you.
on my plate. So, if one thing is being mundane, the other things excite you. And just having that change in your routine, it makes a huge difference. And I think for the burnout is because I always advocate you should take breaks as much as you want and don't be guilty for just showing up sometimes, because you are human as well. So don't forget that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think it's because I have a lot of things on my plate, it keeps me going.
Yeah.
And it really drives me.
Okay, but that also sounds like sometimes our cup is like really, really full,
exactly.
right? And your role is to pour into the children, pour into the family, collaborate with, your colleagues.
Yeah.
Has there ever been a time where you realized, okay, my cup isn't full? And how did you refill your cup?
So this happened last year when I've realized that, okay, it's been a decade, and I think I'm tired of giving in. Like I'm just pouring, but there's nothing, like I'm not feeling that good anymore. And that made me realize that my families don't deserve this. They deserve the best side of me, but I deserve to be kind to myself as well, right? So when the burnouts hit, it was a tough time. Like, it was, and so many factors drive it. It's not just your work, it's the work environment you're in, it's the kind of people you're surrounded with. So I always tell them it's so different when you're working with computers, but when you're working with humans, it's a different story.
Yeah.
You are connecting, and you are leading to change every single day. What you do will impact somebody's life, and that's a big responsibility on your shoulder. And when these burnouts happen is when I realized that I need to slow down. And it's okay for me to step back and say, even from my page, I've stepped back sometimes and say, this is too much for me. I can't do more than this. And that's when I get back to my hobbies. I get back to another self side of me, which is not just an SLP. I kind of rekindle with other passions of mine, which means dancing, spending time in nature, being with friends. So I consciously try to put my SLP brain off sometimes, and always, try to strike that balance. It's not easy, but I feel like you should never let go of your hobbies, your passion, because your work is a part of your life, but there's another side of you that makes you, and you should always rekindle and connect to it always.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think balance is key. And sometimes I'm quite similar to you, where I will do everything, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't breathe. Like, this is too much. So how do I find balance? I think also working on starting with balance instead of it finding you, once you're burnt out. Okay, so what's next for speech for you?
I think the fact that the community now, the society now at large, is becoming so aware about the differences, and the autistic societies are getting more recognized, and everything. The value of speech therapists, I think the onus of campaigning for change is increasing, and it's important that we realize that speech therapy is just not sitting at the desk and doing conventional approaches. It's a lot more. You have to look at how child-led, how child-friendly, how trauma-informed you are, how you can actually broaden that aspect and really spread out your horizons. And you can see you are not just working with one child, you're working with the community at large. So as speech therapists, I think we should really understand the power that we hold within us, and just try to rise up to that.
Thank you. I agree. I think that what you do is just not easy. So working with children and then the family. So let's say that a mom is interested in speech and wants to begin those sessions. How would a mom or dad, family, pick the right speech therapist? Like, what does that look like, that process?
I think the first thing that they do is to see how well they connect with the therapist, okay? Because connection is key. And I think with our fields, if you agree that we really need to build that rapport. And if no matter how many certifications you have, what kind of, profile you keep, if you aren't able to connect with the child, it's gonna fail. The whole foundation isn't being set.
I agree.
So I never would urge parents to look at certifications. I know it's important, but see if the child and the therapist can connect. And when the therapist has that intention to do well, no matter what it is, it's gonna come out to be good. So when you're looking for a therapist, just keep in mind the well-being of your child. And if your child is happy at the end of the session, that's a good thing for you.
I agree. It really could, you could have a list of certifications, but if you can't connect with the child, your certifications really aren't as beneficial as you think, because you can't use them, you can't apply them. So I agree, and I think that is the first thing that I do. It's like I am like a big kid on the floor with the kids, running around. You are going to love Miss Nikki.
Exactly.
You know?
So that should be your whole motto,
exactly,
right?
Exactly. That, and I think that that's also something that I try to communicate to the family. Like, you know, I know this looks like fun, and it is right now, these first few sessions, but we'll get there. But if I can't connect with your child, we're not going to be able to apply any type of intervention or work on any type of, you know, skill development.
The child must feel like you're a safe space, right? If they don't connect to you or feel that this room is a safe space for them to thrive in, they're not going to learn. They're just going to have negative experiences, and it's going to like lead to more issues.
They're going to escape. They're going to really try to get out of the space. What's your hope and future for inclusion here in Qatar specifically?
Actually, I love the whole concept in Qatar. I can see how well, people are getting aware, and I see the conversations have already started. People like Nikki have created community conversations because they know the impact it is leading to. You see, I keep seeing the news. They're doing so much. Everybody has kept the inclusion at their forefront, and events have been happening. They're having so many conferences just to get the conversation going. So I feel like we're on the right track. And our children here are being seen, acknowledged, and they're being empowered. So that's the best thing.
I agree. I came in 2016. And that was totally different to where we're at now. So I'm very grateful to just see the progression and to be a part of it.
Exactly.
What would you say is one thing that you want a parent to take away from today's conversation?
As a parent, if the one thing that I really want you to take away is that see your child for them as they are. See them for their strengths. See them for who they are, and not just the label, the kind of weaknesses, and what the society will overbear. No, because I think you are the largest and the strongest advocate for your child. And when you start believing in their, capacities, in their strengths, is when they will also feel the same.
Okay, so what is one last thing that you would like to say to the parents? I know that we talked about what we want them to take away, but if you were looking directly at a parent right now, what would you say to them?
I would say that I see you, and I validate all of your moments of anxiety and stress, and you are so strong to be able to be on this journey for your child. You're advocating for them, and at the same time, I want you to look into yourself, take care of yourself, and reach out to the community, because there are a lot of places where we can find help, there's support. So don't feel shy in asking for help, and we're here for you.
Well, thank you all for joining today's conversation. I do hope that you were able to take away some insightful information about communication and how important it is. And we will see you next time.